Today, I'm restoring these factory Toyota plastic headlights to go from this to this. Well, would you believe it? Today in the shop, we're talking about plastic headlights. Yes, straight out of the factory, plastic headlights do look really good, and we get really cool shapes and all that stuff as well. The problem is shortly thereafter, they can get sunbaked and basically look like this one on this 2005 Toyota 4Runner. Now, I do remember the days of the glass headlight. My first car was a 1985 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Glass headlights were always crystal clear, and when one burnt out, I was able to head right down to the auto parts store and pick up a new one right there on the shelf. Unbelievable. Now these days, I may not be able to go just pick one of these up off the shelf, but I can order them online. However, there are potentially a few issues with that. Number one being the fitment. A lot of the low-cost aftermarket lights aren't made to the same quality as the original Toyota factory headlights. Though they look like the same shape, they may not be exact, and so therefore may not fit into the slot exactly like your original factory headlights did. Not only that, and very importantly, all of these headlights are sealed from the outside elements, and if that seal isn't done properly, you can get moisture inside those headlights, and that basically ruins the whole thing. So while I'm not mortally opposed to aftermarket headlights, today we're going to see what we can do about these. I have come up with a plan to restore these headlights. You can see the sandpaper here on the left. I have 4 steps, starting with 400, going all the way up to 3000 grit. Now after that sanding, I'm going to use a polish, and this one's by Meguiar's called PlastX. It says right on the bottle, clear plastic cleaner and polish, great for headlights. And after that, I'll be using this spray-on headlight coating, and this one is also by Meguiar's. On the can, it says it maintains clarity on restored headlights and provides durable UV protection, which is exactly what we want. Now, while it is obviously possible to completely do every step necessary right here with the headlight installed on the truck, I'm gonna go ahead and remove these things. Because I'm gonna be spraying that clear coat, I feel like it's gonna be easier to remove the headlights, spray them outside rather than taping everything off and making sure I have all the bodywork completely protected and my other vehicles potentially next to this thing so that that overspray doesn't get on anything else. So headlights are coming out. Well, the driver's side headlight is ready to go. All right, well, I'm starting, of course, with 400 grit. I also have this bucket of warm soapy water. I'm just gonna get the sandpaper wet, and I'm just going to very, very lightly start sanding it. Now I'm gonna sand in basically one direction, which is gonna be the length of the light here, and that's going to be the first pass. Then I'll come back and go up and down this way. Doing that with the passes going opposite of each other is going to take away the most material. And right away, this is after 20 seconds, I can see the material that's coming off, and it's very, very orangish yellow. That's a good sign. Now I'll get my sandpaper wet again, and I'll just continue working this area right down here at the edge of the headlight. One thing to note is I did reinstall all of the bulbs in this headlight, and that's just to make sure that I don't have any water or any debris getting inside of the light while I do this. Okay, at this point I finished sanding lengthwise. Now I'm going to sand up and down, you know, relative to the position of the light. This is up and down. Again, I'm going very, very lightly here. I can definitely already see a difference in this plastic. Well, 400 grit done. I only ever use that one single piece of sandpaper. Well, here's the headlight all cleaned off and dry, and you can see that it's very cloudy, which is exactly what we want. What I don't want to see is any yellow remaining. This 400 grit first pass, I want to overdo this because this is going to be what's actually removing all of that old oxidation. And when I look really closely at this, I think we're good to go. Okay, moving on to 800 grit, I'm going to do the same thing. Repeat the process. I'm going to go lengthwise on the light, making sure to get every square centimeter of this thing, and then I'll switch it up and go vertically. Now I'm also making sure to repeatedly clean off my sandpaper. That's what the water's for. It's to keep the sandpaper clean so that all the oxidation, all the debris that I'm sanding off doesn't just clog up the piece of sandpaper. I just finished the horizontal sanding with the 800. Now I'm going to switch it up and go vertical. I know I'm actually sanding horizontally from my perspective, but trust me, it's vertical. Well, I just finished with the 800 grit sandpaper and it's looking really, really good. It's a little more clear than it was with the 400 grit, but it's obviously still cloudy, and that's because we still have a lot of fine scratches in this thing. The next step is going to be that 1500 grit, and it'll be a little clearer. This time I'm going to start going vertically because I think I ended the last one horizontally. It's definitely okay to do it in sections as well. Look, the fact is it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good. All right, and there is after the 1500 grit. It's a little more clear, though still very cloudy. That's okay. The surface feels extremely slick, extremely smooth. It's pretty unbelievable, actually. So now after the 1500 grit, only thing left to do is move on to the 3000. Starting off horizontally, I ended the last one with the 1500 grit going vertically. So I'm going to begin the 3000 grit going horizontally. One thing's for sure on this 3000 grit is it is extremely smooth. You know, with these lights being wet like this, we obviously get an idea of what they're going to look like when they're fully finished. And wow, what a transformation this is going to be. To go from lights that were so cloudy they were dangerous to practically what's probably going to look brand new. I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Done with the 3000 grit. Look at those things soaking wet. They look clear. All right, so we just finished our 4-step sanding process. Now, when I look really closely at this, I can still see little micro scratches, although the plastic just seems silky smooth. So what's the next step? Well, I could go ahead at this stage and just spray that headlight coating on this, and it would clear it up quite well. Just to give you somewhat of an example of that, I'll go ahead and wet this lens here, wet the plastic, and you can see how clear that looks. Now, that's not exactly a good representation, but you can see just how crystal clear that is with a coating. In this case, it's just water, and there's the cloudy section over there, and there's the part that I wiped some water on. So I could do that. I could simply spray the lens with the coating and all would be fine. But what I want to do is actually polish this plastic so that it looks crystal clear on its own. I want to get rid of all of these little micro scratches that are in here causing it to look foggy. I want to make this thing crystal clear without having to wet it or coat it. And then I'm going to coat it. Okay, this is the point where I polished the plastic with this Meguiar's Plastics. Now to start, I'm actually going to polish this corner here with this orange lens by hand. And after that, I'm going to pull out the power polisher and we're going to see what this thing will do. My rag here is actually damp. I just washed it out. So I'll apply a little polish on there. And I'm just going to polish right here, right in front of this orange lens that's inside here. Just give it a little elbow grease and we'll see what happens here. Applying a little more to my rag. And I'll keep going. And this so far has only been, I don't know, 25, 30 seconds. I can tell you what, this looks really, really clear. Let me wipe it down. Wow, look at that, guys. I'm hoping the camera is picking up just how crystal clear this plastic is. Look at the plastic over here, which is the 3000 grit. And now look at this right in front of this lens here. That is extremely clear. And you know, it does take some elbow grease, but I just wanted to test how good this polish actually is, simply polishing by hand, and it looks like it's absolutely excellent. Here's the polisher. I think you guys all know where this is from. I'm gonna apply, I don't know, that much. Let's start on this corner over here. Okay, take two. That was a lot more violent than I thought it would be. It is already, however, looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and wipe this down and see what we've come up with. I'm hoping it looks as good as I think it looks, and I didn't cause any other kind of damage here. I went and grabbed another microfiber so that I can kind of wipe this stuff down with a fresh, dry microfiber towel. Polishing this stuff off, let's see what we're left with. And I have to admit, that was not a very pretty job. Do you guys see that? This whole area over here is not polished yet, and then it fades into this crystal clear, polished plastic over here. And that was just a little bit of polishing too. I mean, maybe 20 seconds? Holy moly. All right, well, I know I'm on the right track here. I'm gonna polish the rest of this thing up so that the whole thing will look like that. This looks absolutely beautiful. It's a brand new headlight, a factory headlight. Oh my gosh. There it is out in the sun. You can see it looks crystal clear, like a brand spanking new headlight. Well, I'm sure at this point you could really just leave this just like this and reinstall it, and it would probably be fine for a while, especially if you don't have to park in the sun every single day. I mean, this is probably the way it came from the factory. I don't think there was a coating on this because I never saw anything on this that looked like it was flaking off or anything like that. It was just simply plastic that was oxidized and yellow, which we sanded off and then polished again. So this is probably the state that it was in off of the showroom floor. I bought that spray-on Meguiar's headlight coating for a reason, because that has UV protectant in it. I want these things to be protected for as long as possible. I don't want to have to go through this process again, not because this was so bad, but removing the lights themselves was pretty gnarly on this 4Runner. All right, in order to spray these lights down, I'm gonna clean them off with some alcohol. I'm basically making sure there's not gonna be any residue left over from the polish on this plastic. So cleaning them off with 91% isopropyl alcohol. That's just what I had on the shelf. Okay, I have my station set up here. I'm outside. I have all my personal protective equipment on. I've already been shaking this can of Meguiar's Keep Clear headlight coating. I realize the name is actually Keep Clear there. Well, that was easy. All right, well, right away, while I was spraying that, I could see that the plastic was clearing up even more. It looks really, really good. I'm not exactly sure if my first pass up top there was right, so my next pass may be even more wet. Everything is looking great, and that was really easy to apply. Okay, 3 to 5 minutes has passed. This stuff does make a big cloud, so I'm gonna try to hold my breath. All right, well, thankfully, it seemed like that second pass, all the fog kind of went away from me. Definitely looks really, really good. Well, I don't know if you saw the fog coming off of this thing as I was spraying that stuff, but I'm very, very glad after seeing that. I'm very glad that I took the headlight out of the vehicle because I wouldn't want that stuff basically landing on the paintwork of all of my other vehicles. This does, however, look really, really good. This is after 2 coats. It looks crystal clear. I just went through the entire sanding process on the passenger side headlight. This is after 3000 grit, of course, and I just wiped it down, so it's still a little wet. And that definitely is the same result we had with the driver's side light. So now on to polishing. Trying to keep the pad as horizontal as possible so that it doesn't spray all over my face and my eyes. And just like I did before, I'm gonna do it again. There we go. Contemplating whether or not I want to keep going, just because. Well now, let me wipe this off. Wow. And out in the daylight, you can really see just how crystal clear this plastic has gotten. This looks brand new, guys. Looking up really, really close, trying to see scratches or something in the plastic. Yeah, you know, there are still some blemishes, things that are on the inside of the plastic, but it's so slight. And once I spray that spray coating on here, it does cover up a lot of the absolute micro fine scratches that may still be here. So overall, I'm gonna give this an A+ with just polish. Passenger side headlight is all wiped down again with alcohol, so it's clean and ready to go. I'm gonna hold my breath again. I have all my PPE on. So that time I never let up off of the can. It was spraying the whole time. And I think that was actually a good plan. It seemed like it covered it really well. We're gonna do the final coat here. And there we have it with the final coat. It definitely looks crystal clear, absolutely amazing. I can't believe this process and what it's done. Now this is obviously still wet. I just got done spraying it about 1 minute ago. So it says it's gonna dry in 3 to 5 minutes, but be fully cured in 24 hours. All right, I have the two headlights sitting in my shop on the table. This is the driver's side, that's the passenger side I just did. Both of them basically look exactly the same. Completely crystal clear, like they came from the factory. I think the time has come to now reinstall the headlights. It hasn't been 24 hours yet, but we're close to it. I think we're close enough to where I could just reinstall these and just be careful. Well, here she is, all cleaned up, running good, and she can now see at night. I really cannot believe how good this turned out. Those lights look like they're brand new. They look like I just bought them yesterday and installed them. And for all intents and purposes, they are. I mean, I essentially restored them to factory fresh. Yeah, there's a few little tiny itsy bitsy things here and there, but I mean, they look a 9.9 out of 10. I am really happy with how these turned out. From what we started with to what we have now, this transformation didn't just transform the headlights, it has transformed the look of the whole vehicle. I mean, just look at it. Before, the headlights were yellow and crusty and the whole thing looked old because of it. Now this thing looks fresh and well cared for. I mean, think about it. This thing has 236,000 miles, various paint issues, a couple of dents and dings here and there, but look at this thing. It looks fantastic. You know, also looking inside with everything we've done in here, recovering this driver's seat, cleaning a lot of the staining out of the carpet, covering up that sticky and cracked dash, just giving this thing an overall deep clean. I've definitely still got some work to do, but she's coming along. Now, obviously with these Forerunners, these headlights are pretty common. I could have went and spent, you know, $100+ and bought a brand new set, installed them and called it a day. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to show that you can save money, and not only save money, but have a superior product. Superior meaning the factory Toyota headlights. These headlights are going to fit perfect the way Toyota designed them to. So while it did take some time and some elbow grease and sandpaper and a bucket of soapy water and some polish and a polisher and some spray coating, it took a lot to get this done. I'm not gonna lie. It was totally worth it, I think. What would you have done? Would you have done what I did? Would you have gone through all of the steps, making sure to cross your T's, dot your I's, and refinish the factory headlights? Or would you have just simply tossed these out and bought some new ones? There's no wrong answer. I just want to know what you would have done. If you think what I did was a waste of time, or if it was worth it just to see the process, just to see what it would turn out to be like. I mean, I think it was worth that. Well, I do hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did, please don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It helps this video and the channel. And also, if you've watched this far and you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. I'm Jimmy for One Road, and I will see you in the next one. The crap was that?